Jorge Martinez, I was wondering what is in your future. Do you ever see yourself like a coach for the U.S. team or something like that?
Well, the one thing that after I retired, I spent 20 years as a pro, 17 of them in Europe, and then I was able to come home and finish my career back home in Seattle. And my children were born in England and spent their life kind of dragging them around different countries in Europe. And so when they finally moved to the U.S., they started 6th grade, and it was their 5th school in their 4th country. And what I really kind of felt that I owed it to them a little bit to kind of let them finish their school in one place. And the nice part about broadcasting is I can do it from any location. I can fly to the game, do the game, and go back home. If you jump on the coaching merry-go-round, you never know where you're going to get off. And because when a job comes available, you apply, and maybe it works there, maybe that. So I do see myself at some stage, maybe getting into coaching, maybe getting into, maybe a background, maybe GMing a team. Or I had Tab Ramos gave me the opportunity to do some work with the U.S. Under-20s over the last couple. Over the last year, I spent a couple of camps with them and thoroughly enjoyed my time on that. But right now, for the next couple of years, I'm just going to concentrate on the broadcasting side, let the kids get into university, and then after that, we'll see what happens. But I'm enjoying also having that little bit of extra free time. When you're a coach, you're spending so much time you're spending twice, 3 times what you did as a player. And after 20 years, I wanted to have some opportunities to spend a little bit more time with the family, do things that I wasn't allowed to do as a player, and also have some opportunities to do some things with like a brand like Castrol, where as a player, I would have been preparing for the game today. There's no way I could have been here talking to you guys, because the game would have been at 2 o'clock, and I would have been very structured on what I was doing. And so that side of it is also nice to kind of step away a little bit and then get focused later. Right?
In your career and in your experience, you have been in Europe, and you know the passion that there is among fans for football and their teams and their stars. And the U.S. has, without a question, one of the best teams in CONCACAF and in the world, and it has players playing in Mexico, Europe, everywhere. And yet somehow it seems that U.S. fans don't get it. For example, last week playing against Belgium, the turnout wasn't what one would have thought should have been. What do you think is missing to get adults and make them feel the same passion that people feel in Europe and those countries?
I don't know if you can create that in this country. This country has so many options, so many different things that you can be a fan of. I'm a fan of the NFL, Major League Baseball, basketball, from auto racing to X Games and that's just the American way. The American way is, yes, you are a huge soccer supporter, and we're seeing that in MLS attendances. We're seeing how, the average, kind of national team attendance is good. But to your point, when you've spent time in other countries around the world, you understand that what that passion is. And if you haven't spent that time, all you need to do is have a European vacation during a European Championships or a World Cup and hang out in that country while that team is playing. And you'll walk around the streets, in empty streets, and go, where did everybody go for 90 minutes? Everybody's, they talk about in different countries that they have to, their public utilities have to organize their water departments, because they know that at halftime there's going to be a huge water shortage, because the whole country has left to go to the bathroom at halftime and all the water's gone, and then everyone's. It's those little things that us as Americans just we never grew up with it. We don't understand it. When people would ask me, "What's the difference? How do you explain, Bundesliga, English Premier League, La Liga to an American?" I said, "You have to take Major League Baseball, NFL, basketball, NASCAR, hockey, MLS, X Games, and then make them one sport. And that is what you have in the rest of the world when it comes to football. And it's a difficult task. And I think what we have done is we've done more than just create our own little niche in the U.S. I think the sport is truly moving in a tremendous direction, but one in which you have to understand you have a different level of competition for that fan than you have in the rest of the world. But like I said, it's in a good place. It's in a very good place.
Do you think that probably there is like a cultural or nationalistic element that it's not seen like an American sport, it's a European thing or a South American thing?
I think there was a little bit of that, or a lot of that. I think early on, and I think now they understand. I think it's. I mean, we still have this. We're Americans. We like to win. We like to say we win whatever we put our mind to, and it's different in football. It's not that easy. There's a reason why there's only been a handful of teams that have won a World Cup, and there's so many countries that it's the biggest thing in their country. And take a country like Mexico, take a country like Holland, they're countless. Spain, took forever to finally win their first World Cup, and it is the end-all be-all of everything in their country is football, and it's like I said, it's not that easy, and we've come a huge way in such a short period of time, and we have a long way left to go, but it was fun to be a part of that kind of generation that really got things moving in the right direction, and now it's fun to be a part of it from a different angle and hopefully see it get pushed even further.
Given all the options that you just said, what is your current assessment of the American youth soccer landscape, and what are some of the keys for its development?
Well, I think if you look at the youth soccer landscape, you're looking at the #1 participation sport of kids in America. I mean, that's about as healthy as you can get. You want to ask anybody in Major League Baseball if they wish they had the number of kids playing baseball that are playing soccer. I mean, at ESPN, we were given a statistic that the average fan of Major League Baseball that is watching a game on TV is 55 years old. The average age of the soccer fans are 18 to 25, and the amount of internet-driven what that young fan is doing. I mean, they're seeing everything and they're watching everything, and they're actually, it's the #1 thing that the kids are talking about as well is soccer. And so I think that how healthy kind of the youth side of things are is one of the big difficulties we have is just the vastness of our country and how big it is, and recognizing and getting the kids playing and against each other, and because it's having spent so many time in Europe, you think that it was a bus ride everywhere we went. We'd play a game, we'd leave on a Friday, drive there, spend the night, play the game at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and for the most part be home by 10, 11 o'clock that same night by driving. We're talking about, it was a 5-hour flight for me to get here from Seattle to do this game, and then take that on the youth level and then try to bring this group of kids together and that group and recognize who's doing what, and then you combine that with the limitations that the NCAA places on. These kids are recognized. I was talking with a good friend of mine from the national team who his son went and trained with Chelsea for a little while last year, and there's parents with their 9-year-old, just kicking every ball with them in this trial, just thinking if my son doesn't make it at 9 years old on this opportunity at Chelsea, then the world was going to come to an end, and that's just not what we're used to. And so the kids can't, everything's pro-driven in the rest of the world, and for us it's all the youth teams and the youth clubs, and then they go to college, and maybe they don't go to college, but then they go to MLS development. It's just it's a different landscape that everybody has to navigate through. But for myself, having come through that system and having the opportunities from having just played with my club team, played with some youth national teams, finished my 4 years at University of Portland, and then able to go play 17 years in Europe after that. I think the system is fine, and I think there's always ways to tweak things and to make it better, but it just shows that you can go the American route and the way it's done and be successful. And so I'm not quick to jump on the criticisms that we need to change the system, and we need to do that, because I think it works.
Folks, we're going to take one more question.
What would you say is your proudest moment as a member of the U.S. national team? Just one that really sticks out.
I think the game against Brazil in the Gold Cup.
What did Mario say you were the
It's when you're looking at the past, you always look at scenarios, and for at least friendlies are friendlies. This is a FIFA event in a Gold Cup semifinal against the past World Cup winners, against the past Golden Ball winner from that World Cup. It's Brazil. It's in a FIFA event, and you won. Most times as a goalkeeper, you have your best game when you lose 2-0 or 3-0 because your team was so bad you got shelled. And what do the fans say? Oh my God! Thank God, if it wasn't for our goalkeeper, we would have been embarrassed 8-0. And to have those rare games against huge clubs, huge players, and to win, because that's what the game's about. The game's about winning. It's not about individual. And so when you can help your team achieve a result as a goalkeeper and against that caliber, the first time the U.S. had beaten Brazil in a FIFA event against that quality of player and opposition, it was a pretty crowning moment, for myself, and one that still just, it's hard to beat. I think back to the 1-1 draw against Italy in the World Cup in 2006, and big qualifying moments and different things, and games against Mexico and whatever. But that game against Brazil was something difficult to beat.